welcome back to another episode of Learn with Shavern. So, on today's episode, we are going to discuss something called biohacking. Now, this by far is probably the most interesting thing I have seen people do to themselves. So, what is biohacking? Biohacking is an extreme version of modifying one's body. I will share the link below with the video so that you guys can see it yourselves. And it's a short video. It's like 16 minutes long if you care to watch it. Otherwise, I can briefly summarize it. There's some pretty interesting things. So there was one guy who paid a lot of money for some technology and implanted this device on his chest. And the device is so that he would be able to tell where north is at all times. His justification for this is that animals can tell instinctually where, what direction things are, and certain other, phenomenons that the earth has that we can't as humans supposedly. And he wanted that ability. And so he paid for that device for that. There was another woman who, I guess she got into some type of accident where a metal tent fell on her head, and she was so damaged, right? She had a traumatic brain injury, and she was damaged from the accident. And through her recovery, she found that a form of coconut oil extract helped her articulate again. She wasn't even able to speak. And then she adopted this very extreme ketogenic diet, and it includes her regimen, I think, is to take 26 or 27 pills every day and then go on this machine. Like I said, if you're interested in watching the video, I will share the link below. It is very interesting though. There's another man who no, I think it was a woman. She implanted a chip in her hand so that she could unlock her car. There's all types of things. So there's another man who wants to live. His goal is to live to be 150. And so these people are paying a lot of money to genetically modify their vessels to do whatever it is that they want. It's just so interesting because I know that self-image is an issue in today's society. And I believe on one of my earlier videos, I mentioned about just being happy and unconditionally loving oneself, one's vessel, because understand that your soul chose this vessel. There's things that you're supposed to learn from your vessel, right? Just like you're meant to learn through life experiences. There's things you're supposed to learn in your vessel. Now, there may be behaviors that contribute to the outcome of how your vessel looks. That could be one thing. But it was really sad a little bit to see that these people are so unhappy with self that they would go this far. They would go to these extremes. And by no means is this to come off judgmental, because I'm not judging them. I believe in to each their own, right? But it's interesting in my opinion. It is interesting. Would I personally do it? No. The fact that they are doing it is interesting. So with that being said, I definitely implore you all to take a long look in the mirror and to never go to such extremes, because as I mentioned previously, if you are not happy now in your current state, there is no amount of modifications that you can make that would change your happiness. You have to be happy first with self, and understanding that everything else around that you build upon will only expand your happiness, right? It will only elevate it. And that's the goal. But the biohacking, what blew my mind. There's one guy who pretty much does his own biohacks. He doesn't even go to somebody to implant them. He implants them himself. He implanted earbuds into his ear that has Bluetooth technology. So he doesn't have to put headphones in his ears anymore to listen to music. He just has some machine that just connects it. There's other devices he has in his hands. I believe he has a magnet in one of his fingers, and so he says something on the video about he likes to go to restaurants and just he'll have a metal pen and just kind of play with the pen and move it around in circles with the magnet in his finger. I don't know. I think I don't know. I do know. I really, it's interesting. That's really the only words I could use for it, is that it's just interesting. It's interesting what people will do, will modify themselves with, people that have a whole bunch of money and apparently a whole lot of time to change themselves, right? And their thought process behind the biohackers, their motto is that, if you're unhappy with your body, you can change it. You can genetically modify it. And isn't this interesting? Because we do live in a day and age in which a lot of things are genetically modified, from food to people to places. A lot of things are genetically enhanced. And, to be genetically modified is just changing it from its organic state, from its original state. That's all genetic modification really is just changing something from its original state into something else. Changing internal self and changing external self are two completely different things. When I advocate to you guys about self-love and things like that, self-love comes from unconditionally loving yourself, unconditionally accepting you for how you are. The things that you would like to change should be things in terms of behavior and personality, right? Because unless you're unhealthy, there should be no reason to change the external you. Your genetics are the way they are. They come from family, inheritance, and so forth. And again, your soul chose this for its own purpose, for a purpose for you to learn. But yeah, definitely check out the video, guys. It's so interesting to really see what these people are doing with this technology. And I know I mentioned in my previous videos about how technology's taken over, and just imagine to yourself, right? The reason why I mention this, just imagine to yourself, these are things these people are experimenting with on themselves. At the same time, these people also have a lot of resources, a lot of finances. Snap of a finger, how easy it is for us to kind of live that movie. What was that movie again? In Time or Out of Time, Ran Out of Time, something. That movie with Justin Timberlake, where everyone's life was about like a clock. I don't know. I always like to make movie references because they're commonalities that you guys can go watch and see yourself and see if you could put the pieces together in this puzzle. But it is very interesting because these people that have these resources and this money can very easily, at the switch of a button, make this mandatory, right? We are not far from those type of things. That's why I implore all of you guys, and I encourage everyone to definitely be mindful and definitely be attentive. Be attentive of self as well as surroundings. I like sharing this information with you guys, one, because I love reading about things like this or watching stuff like this. It's interesting to me, but at the same time, my role here is to learn and teach, right? So I would like to teach you all to be mindful of the fact that technology is great. It does make life convenient, yes. If anyone out there are history buffs, you would know that the technology we have today, no matter how advanced we think it is nothing compared to the history of technology that we actually come from as human beings. And it destroyed the civilizations back then. It is not unconceivable to think that that is the time in which we are moving, or direction we are moving into, because of lack of mindfulness, greed, power, corruption, so forth. So with that, I say all of that to say, everyone, accept yourself for who you are, because the more accepting you are of yourself unconditionally, the more compassion you are able to show others throughout maybe their situations or struggles that they may have with self-image. And if it takes you to delete your social media account or not watch television or the advertisements or magazines or whatever it is that you have to kind of uncondition yourself from being programmed to think that you're less than, then execute those behaviors, because You're great and wonderful and divine in your own